So Sevan is mad at me again. Let's get into it. Hey, before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that's been following along, commenting, and being a part of this channel for the last few weeks. It means a lot to me. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss anything coming out here on the channel in the future. So last weekend, I was driving south to see my family over the holiday. And as I often do when I'm traveling, one thing I like to do is drop a Q&A into my story. What that does is it, number one, helps me pass the time because it's like a 13-hour drive, but it also allows people who follow my page to ask anything they want. It helps me connect with them and just get an idea of what's on people's minds. Now, one of the questions and my answer apparently caused enough of a stir with Sevan of the Sevan podcast that he actually dedicated a segment of it on his show. He made 3 main points that I'm going to try to answer for you here today. And I'm also going to explain the Q&A question I shared. But first, I want to show you what the clip was that started all of this. Tyler Watkins, who's the founder of the Heat One app, he posted a reel on his Instagram page, and it featured this clip of Chase Ingraham talking passionately about people that he described as actively working against CrossFit and its interests. Here's the clip as it was posted.
But to express oneself honestly, not lying to oneself, and to express myself honestly, that, my friend, is very hard to do. And
if you don't want to be a part of this season, that is fine. Then don't. If you are out there campaigning for people to not sign up for the Open or to not become affiliates or to quit the CrossFit Games and campaigning people to join you or asking people to not do that, get the out of my CrossFit community. So you're actively campaigning people to leave CrossFit, to boycott the CrossFit Games, to drop your affiliation. You leave. You are no longer a part of this community. You are the problem. And please leave. But to actively campaign and say it's because the community isn't what it was, maybe it's because of people like you that are trying to tear it down and destroy it. But don't ask other people to do it for you, to make you feel better about a decision you aren't even 100% sure is the right choice. Because if you were 100% confident in your choice, you wouldn't ask other people to join you.
emotional content.
Now, the clip itself, without my involvement at all, created a lot of discourse online with everything from messages of support for Chase to others calling this message disgusting and gaslighting. And predictably, it also caused a lot of arguments amongst the commenters, including Sevan, who apparently isn't just angry at me, so I guess I have that going for me. Notably, Luka Jukic had an exchange with Chase as well, so I think it's a fair opinion to say that this post created quite a bit of engagement within the CrossFit ecosystem, and I'm sure would have been and was noticed without me getting involved whatsoever. Now, the question that was posed to me and my answer are here, and I'm going to let you look at it without me reading through the entire thing to you, but I'm going to point out that you don't get a lot of space in these Q&As to tell your story or to expound your thoughts. So what I typically do is keep my answers on the brief side. I'm going to expand on my answer a little here, but I'm not changing it. I still support what I said, and I basically made 2 points that I'm going to talk about. The first point I made, I was actually mostly in agreement with Chase. I don't think he was wrong about what people that are unhappy should do. If you're not enjoying something or something in life is making you unhappy, you should leave and go find something that makes you happy. It's okay to want change in an organization. It's okay to advocate for that change. It's okay to work for change. And it's okay, honestly, to even complain about the changes you want to happen. But once you become so unhappy and you determine that the things that you're trying to change are not going to change or they're no longer working, then the change you should be making is in your own behavior. Life is far too short to spend it being miserable. Now, I think there's a more eloquent way of putting it than get the fuck out, but I appreciate that Chase was passionate on the topic. My second point was that this was a wild message for CrossFit to be sending considering the current climate they're in. And I emphasize that this was HQ's message because well-run organization or companies don't let employees speak on behalf of the organization without approval. Let me explain how I come to that conclusion. Large corporations, entities like CrossFit that are owned by someone else, that have investors, a board, stakeholders like an affiliate network, they almost always have a social media policy in place. I'll go as far as to say they do always have some sort of social media policy in place that prohibits employees from speaking on behalf of the organization without permission. These companies are not trying to infringe upon your free speech. They're trying to protect the brand. The policies are designed to protect investors and the business from statements and acts that can significantly hurt the reputation of the brand. It can drive down short and long-term value. It can inhibit potential growth. It could keep your company from selling if you, as an example, are trying to put it on the open market like CrossFit seems to be doing. Sometimes these social media acts are deliberate, but they don't have a mean intent. Sometimes they're just unintentional accidents that happen that have devastating results and consequences to the business, which is why these policies in place. And I'd point out that as a community, all of us are keenly aware of the consequences of social media mistakes that can cripple a business, since CrossFit is in its current position because of a tweet that started a cascading effect of social media and public outcry or cancel culture. And that eventually resulted in the sale of the business. We don't need to relitigate everything that happened there, but it's very clearly part of our history of CrossFit that we have all felt the effects of it, including right now. Now, in regard to CrossFit's employee social media policy, full disclosure, I haven't seen it. I've been told that it exists from employees that work there, but I have not personally seen it. What I have seen is the CrossFit affiliate agreement. Here's a sample that's freely available on their website. You can Google this and pull it up, but it says the following. In section 10.3, affiliate, including affiliates, agents, employees, and independent contractors shall not purport to speak on CrossFit LLC's behalf or on behalf of the so-called CrossFit community. I came to the conclusion that Chase was speaking on behalf of CrossFit because, as a former affiliate owner and a current affiliate field leader, he would be fully aware of what's in that affiliate agreement. So it stands to reason to me that the company is not going to hold its employees to a lesser standard than that of an affiliate owner. So when I say that this is HQ's message, what I mean by that is that as an employee of the business, when Chase speaks on behalf of the community, as he very clearly did in that video, then it becomes a message from the company itself. What I want to do now is to get into Sevan's talking points and play some clips for you to hear what he's questioning from his own mouth. I don't want you to feel like I'm taking him out of context. So if you want to see the episode, it was streamed last week on his show. You can find it in the live section titled The CrossFit Cowards. I'll let you figure out who he thinks the cowards are. And the area in which we're talking come at about the 50-minute mark. And if I remember right, they run about 5 to 7 minutes. Here's the first clip.
But the part that's the presupposition, that's the really Weasley part, that is John Woolley, is I do think it's a wild message for CFHQ, because he knows 100% that message is not from CrossFit HQ. 100% he knows that's not from CrossFit HQ.
Now, as you heard him say there, his belief is that I 100%, his words, 100% knew this was not a message from CrossFit headquarters. And I'll answer that statement with a question. Why would I possibly believe that? When an employee who is routinely paid to be a paid spokesperson for CrossFit makes a post regarding the games, the open, affiliates, and the community, it's safe to say that once again, he's speaking on behalf of the organization. Now, I can understand why a lot of people would view Chase's comments as his own opinion, because that opinion runs contrary to what CrossFit leadership has been pushing as a community-driven culture that's more inclusive for some time now. They spent the last couple of months making a significant effort on their YouTube channel at releasing videos that reinforce this message of family and strength through community. Heck, on my show back in February, Don Fall made it very clear that the culture he was building is one of servant leadership. That's an exact quote from him. And that he was trying to build a supportive culture where employees debate idea behind closed doors but support each other in public once a decision's been made. Now, I don't know Chase that well. I've met him a few times, and he seems like a smart guy to me. So he would understand that telling people that disagree with CrossFit's trajectory to get the fuck out of my community would be exactly like blowing a dog whistle. You'd be trying to get people's attention. He's arguably the most forward-facing employee outside of Dave and Don, and the fact that he's the lead broadcast host of the CrossFit Games. He hosts a CrossFit podcast, and he's an affiliate field leader. This is not a big company. It has a small employee base, and knowing the size of the employee base, very few people would have more access or more understanding of the messaging that CrossFit is wanting to put out. So common sense would tell you that a message that's this direct and pointed could only be one or two things. It could only be an employee going against what leadership wishes the messaging to be, or it's a message from the company. At a bare minimum, I'm giving Chase the benefit of the doubt that as smart as he is, he wouldn't dare deliver a message that Don and the leadership didn't support. Now, I'll concede that I could be wrong and he doesn't care what they think. But personally, I think he's smarter than that. Let's look at Sevan's second point.
Okay. I do think so. Then he goes on to say, make no mistake, it's CFHQ's message. So basically what Woolley is doing there is he knows it's not CFHQ's message. He must have lost access to Tattletale to Dawn. So what he's doing there is he's forcing the hand of HQ to try to slap Chase.
On this point, and this was really interesting to me, he said that my goal here was essentially to get Chase in trouble or, and I quote, force the hand of CrossFit to slap Chase. And this is where I get confused. I didn't create, produce, or even share this video. It never went on my page. It never went in my story. I didn't comment on the post itself. I simply put in a Q&A that goes to very few people, by the way. I had no input into the content, and I honestly wasn't aware of his existence until multiple people started asking me questions about it. There's no expectation of privacy on the internet. So this is where common sense and personal responsibility come into play. We're all accountable for our actions, and every single time you post an opinion, every single time you post a reel, every single time you post a meme, it's open to public scrutiny. Now, Sevan and the Sevan podcast, to which Chase is a contributor from time to time, has spent countless hours dissecting and discussing actions of CrossFit headquarter employees like Don, Dave, Jay DeCoon, Annette Rivas, and so on and so forth. Not to mention highly critical of media personalities like Sean Woodland, Tommy Marquez, Lauren Khalil, Craig Ritchie, and as seen here in these clips, myself included, although I very clearly would not put myself in that same level of media as those legends before me. Here's all I would say. Sevan, if you're upset that I took Chase's words and put them under a spotlight for criticism, just know that the door I walked through to do that was the same door you knocked down with the sledgehammer. All right, let's listen to Sevan's last point.
Not to mention Luca's backward interpretation that he did it because he works for the company. I will agree with this. Chase did put his job on the line by speaking out so boldly, even though, God, we need way more of that from HQ. We need so much more of that.
So that should have been easy for you to catch in full. He said Chase put his job on the line when he spoke out so boldly, even though we may need more of that from HQ. And I got to be honest, I think hell froze over because for once, I think Sevan and I are actually in full agreement. He's very clearly recognizing that the opinion shared by Chase is bold and outside of the norm. So we very obviously agree that, as I stated in that Q&A story post, this was a wild message to send. It's nice to see you came around to my way of thinking, buddy. Here's how I want to end this. I actually love Chase's passion around CrossFit and the methodology, and I agree with Sevan, shockingly, that I think there are many within the CrossFit community, myself included, that want to see more of that passion out of CrossFit headquarters. I think ultimately, people want to know that the organization wants it to succeed as bad or more than we want it to succeed. With that said, I still firmly believe this is an opinion and message that's owned by CrossFit. And regardless of whether you think it was crafted by CrossFit or simply, as Sevan believes, Chase speaking his mind, it's the message that's important and the message that we should be focusing on. This message was ill-timed and wildly ineffective. In my opinion, CrossFit's in a moment in time where you can recognize that a significant portion of the community is vocally unhappy. You can see it in social media, athlete response, and the public discourse. If you're a representative of this brand, then this is the time you should be building bridges, not burning them. Instead of telling people within the community that are questioning the current trajectory of the company that maybe they're the problem and to please get the fuck out, maybe you could try something a little more professional, like, hey, if you think there's a problem with how we're operating, then reach out and we'll work together to resolve it. And if we can't, that's okay. We'll part with no hard feelings and we'll continue the work of changing lives. That's how well-run businesses and organizations handle conflict and change without putting themselves at risk in the court of public opinion.